Let's answer some more questions about opposites. What is the opposite of 25? Did you get negative 25? What is the opposite of 0? Did you get 0? What is the opposite of 18? Did you get negative 18? What is the opposite of negative 18? Did you get 18? What is the opposite of negative 18? Negative 18. Opposites. What conclusions can you draw about the opposite of a number? It's the same as the original number. Let's look at the last three problems. 18. Opposite of 18 is negative 18. Opposite of 18 is a positive 18. This will be helpful to understand when we work with integer operations. Just know the opposite of 18 is negative 18, but the opposite of 18 would give us a positive 18. And let's take a look at a few of those examples. Simplify the opposite of 9. Did you get positive 9? How about the opposite of 12? Did you get positive 12? How about the opposite of 15? You can always pause the video to think about the question. Did you get negative 15? In the integer, we're going to play a quick little game show. In the game of Jeopardy, you earn points for a correct response, you lose points for an incorrect response, and you can have a positive or a negative score. When a contestant gets a $200 question correct, the score is 200. Then a $100 question incorrect, the score is 100. Then a $300 question incorrect, the score would then become negative 200. How did the score become negative? Again, we started with a positive 100, and then we had a negative 300, and the distance of the two from 0 would be negative 200. After the following three responses, what would the contestant score be? 100 incorrect, 200 correct, 50 incorrect. What do you think? Again, you may pause the video to work it out on paper. Did you come up with $50? We go 0 minus 100 gives us the negative 100 because he got 100 incorrect. Then he got 200 correct, but he had a negative, plus 200 gave him a positive 100, but then he also got another negative $50 incorrect, which leaves the contestant with only $50. How about after the following three responses, what would be the contestant's score be? 200 correct, 50 correct, 300 incorrect. Again, you may pause the video to work this out on paper. Did you come up with a negative 50? If you did, you are correct. So we started with the positive 200 plus 50, but then they got 300 incorrect, and so they are still left with a negative 50. So they need some more money. Let's take a quick pause as we switch to absolute value. But before we go to absolute value, let's review what we've learned about integers. An integer is 0, any natural number or its opposite. Number lines have negative numbers to the left of 0 and positive numbers to the right. 0 is neither negative nor positive. Integers can be used to represent real-life situations. Let's switch to absolute value. So let's think about absolute value. The absolute value of a number is its distance from 0. Absolute value is indicated by using two bracket symbols. We will take a look at what that means. The absolute value, again, is the distance a number is from 0 on the number line regardless of its direction. Distance and absolute value are always non-negative numbers. So they are positive or 0. So for this one, we would say, what is the distance from 0 to 5? We would write it as 5 because it is distance. Distance is always measured in a non-negative number. The absolute value, again, is the distance a number is from 0 on the number line regardless of direction. So what would the distance be from 0 to negative 5? It would be the same distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the absolute value of the distance would be 5 units. We can use absolute value to describe the relative size of numbers. Today I'm going to talk about integers. Let's pretend the ground is 0. So if I fly 14 feet in the air, I'll be positive 14 because it is 14 above the ground or sea level. Say I go to the sea and go under the water 5 feet. Well, that's integers. Then I'll be 5 feet under sea level, basically a negative 5. But let's talk about what this means in distance. If you dive 35 feet underwater, your depth is negative 35 feet. However, we often say 35 to describe the number of feet. Okay? So we still need to know how many feet. 35, but it's telling us it's under, you're going deep, that's why we add the negative. If you owe someone $45, your debt is described as $45 rather than negative $45. We use negative 45 to describe the amount. And again, these brackets here represent absolute value. What is owed? Absolute value is symbolized by two vertical bars. These two vertical bars lets us know, and again, it can only be a positive integer or 0. This is read the absolute value of 4. What is the absolute value of 4? It would be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Use the number line to find the absolute value. Absolute value of 9, if we go down to 9, it's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's just going to be 9. The absolute value of negative 9 is going to be 9. The absolute value of negative 4 is going to be 4. Again, absolute value cannot be negative. That's why we put the brackets around it to find out what its true value is and its distance from 0. Find the absolute value of negative 7. It would be 7. The absolute value of negative 8, 28. The absolute value of 56, 56. The absolute value of negative 8, 8. The absolute value of 3, 3. Which numbers have 12 as their absolute value? That would be negative 12, B, and D, 12. Both of them, if you take the absolute value, will give you 12. B and D. What numbers have 50 as their absolute value? Again, we have -50. The absolute value of -50 is 50, and the absolute value of 50 is 50 because that is the distance from 0. A and E. Johnny says that for temperatures below 0, as the temperature increases, the absolute value of the temperature decreases. Is his thinking correct? Use a number line to prove your answer. You will complete this in the next slide.